Let's face it, most people won't openly admit they dislike you. Instead, they hide behind polite smiles, hollow compliments, and calculated behaviors designed to keep their true feelings concealed. It's a painful reality, but one we need to address. If you fail to recognize the signs of hidden dislike, you risk wasting your energy on people who aren't rooting for your success. By learning to spot these subtle behaviors, you can protect your self-esteem and prioritize relationships that genuinely matter. Here are some key signs someone may dislike you but is trying to hide it. We've all encountered someone who jokes too much, especially when the jokes always seem to be at our expense. At first, it might come across as playful teasing, the kind of humor that seems harmless. They may even disguise their comments with phrases like, "I'm just messing with you," or "Don't take it so seriously." But over time, you start to notice a pattern. The jokes always highlight your perceived weaknesses, not your strengths. I once had someone in my life who constantly joked about how I dressed, how I spoke, and even the projects I was passionate about. Initially, I laughed along, convincing myself it was harmless banter. But gradually, I began second-guessing myself. Were these flaws as glaring as they made them out to be? Was I the problem? Here's the truth. People who consistently joke about your flaws aren't doing it out of affection. It's often a subtle power move, a way to undermine your confidence while keeping things socially acceptable. By dressing their digs as humor, they test how much disrespect you're willing to tolerate. The real controversy lies in how we're conditioned to react. Society tells us to learn to take a joke or risk being labeled oversensitive. But let me flip that script. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself when a joke crosses the line. True friends don't need to put you down for a laugh. The more you let these comments slide, the more they chip away at your self-worth. Over time, you may even start doubting yourself, all because you wanted to keep the peace. I learned this the hard way. By laughing along, I unknowingly gave them permission to continue. It wasn't until I began setting boundaries and calling them out that things started to change, not just in how they treated me, but in how I valued myself. So the next time someone makes a joke at your expense, pause and ask yourself, is this really funny? If not, don't hesitate to speak up. It might be uncomfortable, and it could even strain the relationship, but your self-respect is worth far more than someone else's misguided humor. Backhanded compliments are another subtle yet effective tool for undermining someone. These compliments seem kind at first, but leave you feeling uncomfortable or even insulted. It's the kind of praise that makes you pause and wonder, was that really a compliment, or was it an insult wrapped in sugar? I remember working tirelessly on a project I was proud of, only to share it with someone I considered supportive. Their response: "Wow, this is actually pretty good for someone like you." On the surface, it sounded like a compliment, but those last 4 words, "for someone like you," hit me like a brick. What did they mean? Was I not supposed to be capable of producing quality work? The comment wasn't meant to uplift me. It was a subtle dig designed to keep me second-guessing myself. These backhanded compliments are often more about the giver than the receiver. They reveal insecurities, jealousy, or a need to assert superiority. It's a way of saying, "I see you succeeding, but don't forget your place." While the words are cloaked in kindness, their intent is far from it. When faced with a backhanded compliment, you don't have to accept it quietly. Responding with a simple, "Thanks, but what do you mean by that?" forces the person to confront their own words. Often, this will make them uncomfortable as they realize their hidden insult didn't go unnoticed. It's a powerful way to reclaim your confidence and let them know you won't play their game. Few things sting more than realizing you've been left out of plans, especially when it comes to people you consider friends. It starts small, an overlooked invitation to a dinner or party. They explain it away with excuses like, "We thought you were busy," or "It was a last-minute thing." But over time, these exclusions add up, and it becomes clear that you're being left out intentionally. I've experienced this firsthand. I remember one weekend scrolling through my phone and seeing pictures of a group of friends at an event I would have loved to attend. Not one of them mentioned it to me beforehand. When I brought it up casually later, they were full of excuses. But deep down, I knew the truth. If they wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew about it. Social exclusion isn't always a thoughtless mistake. It's often deliberate. It's a passive-aggressive way of sending a message without openly addressing the issue. Rather than confront you or express their feelings honestly, they hope you'll quietly fade away. For a long time, I let these exclusions slide, hoping things would change. But staying silent only reinforced their behavior. Eventually, I decided to address it directly. The next time it happened, I said, "Hey, I noticed you guys went out last weekend. I would have loved to join." This approach forced them to acknowledge their actions and made it clear I wouldn't accept being treated as an afterthought. The truth is, recognizing these subtle signs can be painful, but it's a necessary step in protecting your mental and emotional well-being. Whether it's joking about your flaws, delivering backhanded compliments, or excluding you from plans, these behaviors speak volumes about the other person's character and their feelings toward you. Here are a few strategies to navigate these situations. 1. Set boundaries. Don't tolerate disrespect, even when it's disguised as humor or passive aggressiveness. Politely but firmly call out the behavior. 2. Communicate directly. If you feel excluded or slighted, address it openly. Express how their actions made you feel without being confrontational. 3. Prioritize relationships that uplift you. Surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your successes, support your growth, and value your presence. 4. Trust your intuition. If someone's behavior consistently leaves you feeling undervalued or disrespected, trust your instincts. Your feelings are valid. 5. Reclaim your power. Remember that other people's opinions or actions don't define your worth. Their behavior reflects their insecurities, not your value. It's never easy to confront these uncomfortable truths, but by identifying and addressing these signs, you can take control of your narrative and focus your energy on relationships that truly matter. Life is too short to waste on people who can't see your worth. Choose to surround yourself with those who uplift, respect, and genuinely care for you. Let your self-respect and confidence guide your interactions, and never be afraid to walk away from relationships that don't align with your values. The right people will celebrate you for who you are, without the need for veiled negativity or hidden agendas. Stand tall, set boundaries, and embrace the relationships that nurture your growth and happiness. Sometimes, people who dislike you won't say it outright. Instead, their actions, comments, and behaviors tell a story they're too afraid to share verbally. The avoidance, excuses, and subtle digs they use can leave you questioning your value in their life. Recognizing these signs isn't easy, but it's essential for protecting your emotional well-being and focusing on relationships that genuinely uplift you. Let's break down some key behaviors that reveal someone's hidden dislike and how to navigate these situations with confidence and self-respect. Few things sting more than realizing you've been left out of plans. It's not just the absence of an invitation, it's the excuses that follow. "We thought you were busy." It was a last-minute thing, or worse, no explanation at all. While occasional forgetfulness is human, repeated exclusion often signals something more deliberate. I remember scrolling through social media one weekend and seeing photos of a group of friends at an event I would have loved to attend. Not one of them mentioned it to me beforehand. When I brought it up later, They were quick with excuses, but deep down, I knew the truth. If they had wanted me there, they would have made sure I was invited. This kind of exclusion often isn't accidental. It's a subtle, passive-aggressive way of sending a message. They don't want you there, but they also don't want to confront you directly. Instead, they hope you'll quietly fade from the group. It's cowardly and hurtful, yet many people allow it to slide, convincing themselves it was just an oversight. For a while, I did the same. I stayed silent, hoping that maybe next time I'd be included. But the pattern persisted, and eventually I decided to confront it. The next time I noticed I'd been excluded, I said, "Hey, I saw you guys went out last weekend. Why didn't anyone invite me?" It wasn't easy, and it definitely made things awkward, but it forced them to acknowledge their behavior. The dynamics changed. Some got defensive, others apologized, but the message was clear. I wasn't going to let them exclude me without addressing it. The reality is, people who truly value you will make the effort to include you, even if it's a last-minute plan. If they don't, it's worth rethinking the relationship. True friends don't make you feel like you're chasing their approval or attention. They ensure you're part of their lives because they genuinely value your company. If you find yourself being excluded, don't brush it off. Confront it, ask the hard questions, and be prepared for honest answers, even if they're not what you want to hear. The phrase, "I'm too busy," is one of the most common and convenient excuses. Everyone is busy. It's the perfect shield to avoid spending time with someone without outright rejecting them. But when someone is consistently busy only when it comes to you, it's time to take a closer look. I've been in this situation more times than I'd like to admit. I once had a close friend who seemed to have endless excuses when I tried to make plans. "I'm working late. I've got so much going on," or "maybe next week." Yet, I'd see them posting pictures with other friends or hear about their outings through mutual acquaintances. The message became clear. They weren't too busy. They were just too busy for me. It's hard to accept, but the truth is, people make time for what and who they care about. When someone constantly claims they're too busy, it's often a polite way of saying, "I don't want to spend time with you." It's easier for them to blame their schedule than to confront the reality of their shifting priorities. Being on the receiving end of this behavior taught me a valuable lesson. Your time and energy are precious. Don't waste them on people who can't be bothered to make time for you. If someone consistently avoids making plans, it's worth reassessing the relationship. Confronting them might be uncomfortable, but it can provide the clarity you need to move forward. Backhanded compliments are a masterclass in disguised hostility. They sound like praise at first, but leave you feeling insulted or belittled. Comments like, "Wow, this is actually pretty good for someone like you," or "You're smarter than you look," are subtle digs wrapped in a veil of kindness. I once spent weeks working on a project I was incredibly proud of. When I finally shared it with someone I thought was supportive, they said, "This is surprisingly good." The word "surprisingly" hit me hard. It was clear they hadn't expected much from me, and their comment was less about praising my work and more about reinforcing their low expectations. Backhanded compliments often come from people who feel threatened by your success or potential. They see your strengths and use these disguised insults to keep you second-guessing yourself. Recognizing these comments for what they are, a reflection of their insecurities rather than your worth, can help you neutralize their impact. When faced with a backhanded compliment, don't let it slide. A simple, "What do you mean by that?" can force the person to confront their words and make them aware that their intentions aren't as subtle as they think. By calling out the behavior, you assert your self-respect and discourage them from trying it again. Physical contact, even in non-romantic relationships, is a natural way of building trust and connection. A handshake, a pat on the back, or a friendly hug can convey warmth and camaraderie. When someone goes out of their way to avoid even casual touch, it can signal discomfort or dislike. I once worked with someone who always found a way to dodge physical interaction. They'd step back if I reached out for a handshake, or they'd stiffen noticeably during group photos. At first, I thought they might just be reserved, but I noticed they were perfectly comfortable with others. Their avoidance was specific to me. This behavior, while subtle, can speak volumes. It suggests they're unwilling to establish even the smallest physical connection, which often reflects a deeper emotional distance. While not everyone is comfortable with physical touch, a noticeable pattern of avoidance toward one person can indicate an underlying issue. Undermining often happens in ways that are difficult to pinpoint but leave you questioning yourself. Whether it's joking about your flaws, dismissing your ideas in group settings, or offering veiled criticisms, these behaviors are designed to chip away at your confidence. I once had a colleague who consistently dismissed my suggestions during meetings, only to rephrase them later as their own. It was infuriating, but it taught me the importance of standing my ground. When someone tries to undermine you, it's often a reflection of their insecurities. Recognizing this can help you maintain your self-assurance and call out the behavior when necessary. Interactions with people who dislike you, even subtly, often leave you feeling exhausted. Whether it's their constant negativity, their backhanded compliments, or their passive-aggressive behavior, these encounters take a toll on your energy and self-esteem. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. If you consistently leave interactions feeling worse about yourself, it's a clear sign the relationship isn't serving you. The behaviors outlined here aren't always easy to confront, but recognizing them is the first step toward protecting your emotional health. If someone consistently excludes you, avoids you, or undermines you, it's a sign they don't value your presence in their life. Surround yourself with people who genuinely uplift and support you. Life is too short to waste on relationships that drain your energy or make you feel less than you are. Remember, your worth isn't up for debate. The right people will celebrate you for who you are, without excuses or hidden agendas. Some people may not openly admit their dislike for you, but their actions and behavior can tell a very different story. Whether it's avoiding physical contact, disappearing when you need them, or gossiping behind your back, these subtle cues can reveal more than words ever could. Recognizing these signs is not only about protecting yourself, but also about understanding the true nature of your relationships and choosing to prioritize those who genuinely value you. Physical contact is a basic human interaction that communicates trust, warmth, and connection. A handshake, a pat on the back, or even sitting comfortably close to someone are small gestures that foster a sense of intimacy and camaraderie. So, when someone consistently avoids physical contact with you, especially when they are comfortable being tactile with others, it's a signal that something is off. I once worked with someone who seemed to recoil every time I extended a handshake or offered a friendly pat on the shoulder. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but after observing them being warm and physical with others, I realized their avoidance was selective. It wasn't just their personality. It was about me. Avoiding physical contact can indicate discomfort or a lack of connection. While some people aren't naturally touchy-feely, selective avoidance sends a stronger message. It may reflect unspoken tension or unresolved issues in the relationship. Ignoring these cues can lead to prolonged discomfort, but addressing them directly can often lead to greater clarity. I've learned to pay attention to these behaviors, even when it's hard to admit what they mean. Ignoring the signs only prolongs the frustration of wondering why things feel off. If someone consistently avoids physical closeness with you, don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Confronting the issue might strengthen the relationship, or it might reveal that it's time to move on. Either way, It's better than living in uncertainty. A crisis reveals the true nature of any relationship. When things get tough, you quickly learn who your real friends are. If someone disappears when you need them most, it's not just inconsiderate, it's a betrayal. True support isn't about convenience. It's about showing up when it's hard, uncomfortable, and inconvenient. I experienced this firsthand during a particularly difficult time in my life. Dealing with a major personal crisis, I reached out to people I considered close friends, expecting some level of support, a quick call, a kind message, or even just someone to listen. Instead, I was met with excuses. I'm so swamped at work. I've got a lot on my plate, or I'll check in later. Spoiler alert, they never did. It's one of the hardest pills to swallow, realizing that people you've supported in the past during their own struggles can't be bothered to do the same for you. Their excuses, however polite, send a clear message. Your problems aren't worth their time. This kind of behavior reveals that they were never as invested in the relationship as you were. True friends stand by you during the storm, not just when it's sunny. If someone vanishes during your darkest moments, take it as a lesson. Use it as a filter to identify the people who genuinely care about you. The ones who stick around, who check in, and who show up even when it's inconvenient. Those are the relationships worth nurturing. As for the ones who disappear, let them go. Their absence speaks volumes about their priorities. Gossip is one of the most toxic behaviors in any relationship. When someone you trust talks about you behind your back, it's not just hurtful, it's a betrayal of the foundation of trust. Gossip is rarely as innocent as people claim. It's a manipulative power play designed to elevate the gossiper at your expense. I vividly remember confiding in someone I thought was a close friend about a personal struggle. I needed to unload and trusted them to keep the conversation private. Days later, I started hearing snippets of my story from others, twisted and exaggerated like a game of telephone. What I'd shared in confidence had been turned into entertainment. People who gossip about you are not venting or expressing concern, they're playing a game. Gossip allows them to feel superior while diminishing your reputation, all without confronting you directly. And here's a hard truth. If they gossip about others to you, you can bet they're gossiping about you to others. It's not a one-time mistake, it's a pattern of behavior. Confronting gossip is never easy. When I addressed the friend who betrayed my trust, they brushed it off as just harmless talk. But gossip is never harmless. It corrodes relationships and says far more about the person spreading it than the person it's about. If someone betrays your trust in this way, it's a clear sign they don't respect you or value the relationship. Being left out of plans repeatedly sends a strong, albeit silent, message. Whether it's not being invited to a group dinner or a weekend getaway, these exclusions aren't always accidental. When it happens consistently, it's often deliberate, a subtle way of distancing themselves without openly addressing the issue. I've been on the receiving end of this more times than I care to admit. I remember seeing photos of friends at an event I would have loved to attend, only to realize I'd never been invited. When I brought it up, they had a laundry list of excuses. We thought you were busy. It was a last-minute plan, or we just assumed you wouldn't want to come. But deep down, I knew the truth. If they'd wanted me there, they would have made sure I was included. Social exclusion isn't just thoughtlessness. It's often a calculated way to push someone out of the group without confrontation. If this happens repeatedly, don't brush it off. Address it directly. While it may lead to an uncomfortable conversation, it's better than constantly wondering where you stand. Backhanded compliments are a subtle but damaging form of disrespect. Comments like, "Wow, this is pretty good for you," or "You're smarter than you look," are framed as praise but are laced with condescension. I once worked tirelessly on a project I was proud of, only to hear, This is surprisingly good. That one word, surprisingly, instantly took the wind out of my sails. Instead of feeling validated, I was left questioning why they hadn't expected me to succeed in the first place. These kinds of comments reveal more about the giver's insecurities than your abilities. They're designed to make you second-guess yourself while allowing the speaker to feel superior. When you encounter a backhanded compliment, don't let it slide. Responding with, "What do you mean by that?" forces them to confront the hidden insult and makes it clear you won't tolerate subtle disrespect. Recognizing these subtle signs of hidden dislike can be painful, but it's an essential step in protecting your emotional well-being. Whether someone avoids physical contact, disappears during tough times, or undermines you with gossip and backhanded compliments, their actions reveal where you truly stand in their life. Your time and energy are valuable, and you deserve relationships built on trust, respect, and genuine care. Don't hesitate to address these behaviors directly, even if it leads to uncomfortable conversations. In doing so, you'll filter out the people who don't value you and make space for those who do. Life is too short to invest in relationships that drain your confidence or leave you questioning your worth. Surround yourself with people who uplift, support, and celebrate you for who you are, without conditions or hidden agendas. Those are the connections worth holding on to. As for the rest, let them go. Their absence is a blessing in disguise. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I look forward to hearing about the incredible ways you're shaping your life. Stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.